All right, mic check, good. So I'm Max Ceron, Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron and I'm here with a fantastic guest at FabTech. This is day 3, so for the people that are listening to the show, you'll notice my voice is a little rough. This is called the FabTech syndrome. Every one of us are running hard and rough right now. It's been nonstop networking, communicating, and I'm here with Ivan Iler, who just is coming off of a Netflix show and doing all this crazy stuff. Ivan, how's it going, man?
It's going great. It's an honor to be here.
How you feeling this morning? You getting tired yet, or are you still pumping hard?
No, I'm pumping hard. I'm on cloud 9. The thing is like, yeah, I'm running tired, but I never really expected any of this stuff. You know, I got invited here because of the show, so came out and got into it. But I got to be honest, it's been a lot more than I expected. It's been pretty wonderful.
You know, and that's an interesting thing because, you know, over the last 3 days I've kind of been around you and I've been seeing you, but you know, it's you hear pieces of stories, and I caught up a little piece last night, and it's kind of, I think, where we're going to start the show today is like, you know, first of all, you're from Michigan, so we'll start at the start. You're from Michigan. Are you born and raised in Michigan, or like tell us like where your roots are?
All right. Well, to be honest with you, I was born in Petoskey, but that's just because there wasn't a hospital on Drummond Island for whatever reason. My mom had a hospital in Petoskey, but lived on Drummond Island for the first few years of my life. My parents were like, you know, kind of into the rendezvous homesteading kind of thing, and so they had 80 acres on the island, and, you know, Dad built a sugar shack. They're making maple syrup. We lived in the sugar shack while he was building the house kind of thing, and then, you know, he even built the sawmill to build the house kind of thing. But
so when you hear Canadians talk about maple syrup, and Americans always refer to Canadians about maple syrup, you stand up and be like, hey, we make maple syrup too.
No, to be honest with you, I've never had that conversation before.
Because, like, I mean, you always watch the shows in the U.S. and they're like, oh, you got to go to Canada to get the maple syrup. But
Yeah.
hey, you can also go to
Oh, yeah.
you know, Ivan's dad's house.
Make some pretty good maple syrup, Michigan. Yeah.
So, you know, then like you said you were there a few years.
Yeah, just the first few years of my life. Yeah, I mean, when I was 5, you know, my parents split up, and you know, me and my mom and my brother and sister didn't have anywhere to go. So I was 5 years old at the time, and so we ended up going out to New Mexico to live with my aunt. And so lived in New Mexico for, you know, a big chunk of my young life, and then came back to Michigan and been back ever since.
So, did you miss the cold? Is that what pulled you back? Like, I mean, New Mexico's beautiful, right? So,
Yeah,
you know,
New Mexico is beautiful, but yeah, I'm very hot-blooded. I can go outside in the middle of winter and steam comes off of me, but the heat, no. I got put in the hospital twice for heat stroke. My body's not built for that.
man, we're the opposite. I'm like a gecko. I can lie on a hot rock all day. My wife, like up in Canada, she is like you. Minus 20 outside. She's out there with the T-shirt just running out to grab the mail. No big deal.
Yeah.
I'm dying. Like, I'm freezing. But when it's plus 30, or I hear, and, you know, for the Americans listening, it's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm outside just soaking it up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the welding career, too. Like, I spent a lot of time underground. I spent a lot of time in tanks, in hot places. You get used to being hot and sweaty, but
Sure,
I
yeah.
don't know. So when you went back to Michigan, how old were you?
Oh, I was still pretty young. It was like maybe 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been there ever since now?
Yep. We found Elsie, of all places, right in the middle of the mitten, and I moved to St. John's when I was about 17, 18 years old, and that's, it's kind of where I've been ever since.
So young Ivan coming up, you know, just looking at the work you create now and kind of the space you've created for yourself professionally.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid coming up, were you a creative kid?
Oh,
Did,
yeah, always,
like to
yeah.
draw, like what was your
Drawing,
art form?
sculpting. Oh, anything I could get my hands on. And not just drawing and sculpting. I also love just building things. So I was always trying to come up with something, trying to make some little invention or build something. And that's really where everything started. It's just something I've always had to do. I just got to be creating something, making something. And so, but yeah, to be honest with you, like career-wise, you know, I knew I wanted to do something artistic, but, you know, I didn't have any money. We were pretty poor. Yeah. You know, kind of like in between homes a lot of the time. So I knew I wasn't going to college or anything, and I wasn't a great student. I barely went to high school, so like I had terrible grades, and, you know, I barely graduated. And so I started tattooing. I figured, you know, I'll be a tattoo artist. I did that for years. And in 2008, the economy started getting bad. and people can't pay their bills, they can't pay the rent, they're not going to come and pay
They're
for
not
a
getting
tattoo.
tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a girlfriend at home at the time, and it was like, okay, I've got to
Step up and do something.
I got to step up and do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was screwing up, just trying to stick with the tattoo thing. So I went and got a job at a factory. Economy got a little worse. The factory shut down. Lost that job. And that kind of happened another time, where factory closed down again. And so, after a couple little jobs here and there, I ended up, my car broke down. Didn't have the money to fix it. Couldn't get another one. So I just walked down to the end of the street and I got a job at a gas station.
Yeah.
Making $7.50 an hour. And I was like,
but it's $7 you didn't have,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, what are you going to do? Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. And so, that's really what it came to. It was just like, okay, I'm making $7.50 an hour to clean hot dog roller grills and get yelled at about gas prices. Like, I got nothing left to lose. And that's when I started my shop.
Yeah.
I started by building motorcycle parts. It was actually a part that I designed that got the business started. Like, that was how I got a lot of the money. And then also...
So what was the part? I'm curious.
It was a hardtail. You'd chop off the back of your motorcycle frame on like an old Sportster. And you could put this thing on there and it would stretch it out and lower it down. So, at the time you had all these motorcycle building shows coming out. And it was like a big thing. And everybody wanted to build a custom Harley. Well, you could go buy a cheap Ironhead Sportster, from the 60s or 70s. And so I was making parts to basically make it easy for guys to make their own custom bikes out of these old Sportsters.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome. Yeah, I got to ride a little bit of the Pimp My Ride wave. I had my shop going, and we had been doing some fabbing and stuff like that. And then, I've always loved cars. I'm a car guy. I've had, 30, 40 cars now. I don't even know.
Yeah,
and it's like this guy came up to me. He's like, you've always been building your own cars and doing your own car stuff.
Yeah.
And you have a shop. And you are a fabricator. Why aren't you running cars through your shop? And I was like, it's a different industry, right? It's a different industry from what I was used to, and I was a little bit scared, and I hadn't, I'm not an auto body guy. I'm a steel worker. So it's like sometimes thin materials kind of scare me. You know what I mean? Because they're touchy. You got to be gentle. And I'm a kind of a rammy guy, right? So I started doing a little bit of car work and running some cars to your shop and like lowering the, roll cages, like kind of the basics that you start with. And then you start getting into like some frame changes and some different like actual like custom suspensions. Yeah. And then it was like, this actually could make some money. This could actually be a thing. Yeah. And I got to ride that. And is that how it worked out with motorcycles? You guys, the shop get bigger? Does this actually start to roll?
No, that was really how we got it going, got it started, was just, off of the parts and stuff. But I also ran it like a full repair shop. So even if you just wanted a tire change or needed an engine rebuild or something, we do all that stuff too. And I had guys working for me, and I started there, but I was also... like I said, I've always been creating something artistic. So and that was part of the reason why I wanted to do motorcycles. I love motorcycles. I love building them. And it was also a way to do my artwork. I'm shaping out tanks. I'm making really cool things out of metal. I'm building frames. I'm doing, like paint work here and there. I'm doing leather work, making the seats and all that. So it was a way to make money doing what I loved because there was a market for it.
Yeah.
But as I started making these scrap metal sculptures and setting them outside and stuff, then all of a sudden it was like, you start to get like a little bit of attention for that.
Yeah.
And it was actually a friend of mine, Ian. He came to me at one point because he was just coming to the shop because he was just a fan. He was like seeing my videos on YouTube and stuff. It was back then I used to post a lot of YouTube videos. And so he was like, oh, wow, this guy's from St. John's. And he was like a half hour south of us. So he started coming in and he did flooring. And I was like, man, we really need a floor in here. Like, why don't you do it? Why don't you do the floor? And, and we'll trade, you guys do the floor, I'll pay for all the materials, you guys do the labor, and then I'll work on your bikes, so labor for labor. Yeah.
Barter's a very important piece for a young businessman.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so when it comes time, his partner, Rich, tells me that he wants me to hardtail his bike and, lower it down, put like a little fender on it and everything. So I do all that to his bike, and then I ask Ian what he wants, and he says, you got to do Scrap Fest with me. And I was like, what's Scrap Fest? And he goes, it's this art metal show in Lansing where you get an hour to run around in a scrapyard, grab up 500 pounds of scrap metal in that hour, and they, blowing an air horn and everything. It's like a game show without cameras. It's a blast. And then you take it all back to your shop, and you get 2 weeks to build it into something. And then when you come back, they shut down the street, put up all these vendors and a stage, and it's just metal sculptures, filling the street. And And he's like, you got to do it with me because if I had you on my team, we'd win for sure. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll do Scrap Fest for you. That's awesome. That sounds like a blast.
I heard you bring up Scrap Fest last night, man.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I started having 1,000 ideas.
Oh, it's
and
an amazing
I'm
show.
not an artsy guy, so I've said this in every show. I shouldn't say I'm a musician. I can play music. I have more music-minded, so that's art, you know.
Yeah.
But visually, I'm a blueprint guy. Like,
Sure,
if you
sure.
did your art like a blueprint,
Yeah.
I would build it to spec.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? But just
Nice.
to have a pile of materials in front of me and trying to like create something out of that,
Yeah.
it's hard. And maybe I don't give myself enough space to experiment, but
Yeah.
I just really haven't gone down that road. But my problem, or maybe not problem, my awesome thing that might happen in my area, I live in a town with a steel mill.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I got a steel mill. I got like one of the biggest scrap steel yards in like Canada, like in my
Hell yeah.
backyard.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Regina have Scrap Fest? So all the Canadian
Yeah.
listeners are from my area.
Hell yeah.
Man, we got to get this rolling. Like, this would be super fun. I love this idea.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. Is it all started with this guy, David Such. He was just walking down the street one day in Lansing, and the scrapyard that's doing it is Friedland's Industries, and they've been there so long that Oldsmobile, like back in the like late 1800s,
Old, yeah.
he was getting scrap metal out of the yard for building his first cars when he was building them in his garage. That's how old the scrapyard is. Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
It's got a lot of history, and so it's still there. It's always been there, never gone anywhere. But because Lansing got built up around it, it's the scrapyard right in the middle of the city, which is strange. And so David was walking by. And he's like, "There's a scrapyard right in the middle of the city. How cool would it be if we could put on this art show?" And so he went in and he talked to the owner, which his son owns it now, Mike Bass, but he went in and talked to his dad, and he was like, "Hey, I got this idea for the show." And the guy was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so, like, if David hadn't been walking down the street that day and decided, like, "Hey, this would be a cool idea," I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, which is the craziest thing to think about, because that was years ago. But the things that led to, because I did do Scrap Fest with Ian. We did win, like he thought we would. And then I went on to win it a bunch of times after that. I love doing it. But it was some of the artwork that I made during Scrap Fest that the people from Netflix saw that made them want me on the show.
So that was the connection
if
there.
If I never would have done Scrap Fest, I never would have got the call from
Okay,
Netflix.
so timeline. I'm trying to put this timeline because I feel like we skipped a chunk here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
because like
rewind, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean now boom, like okay, now you're on Netflix. Okay, so you got this bike shop. Like you're what, like early 20s, mid 20s,
Yeah, I was about 22, 23 when I started the bike shop.
and then Scrap Fest comes in. How old were you when you did your first Scrap Fest?
I'm not sure. I think God, I don't remember what year it was. Might have been 2013. Might have been the first year I did
Okay.
it. So yeah, and we started 2009. So
Yeah. Okay. So like I don't know how old you are. You're probably like mid 30s, somewhere.
Yeah,
in there?
36, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're 36. So you're striking out into Scrap Fest now. So you're getting a little bit more serious about the art angle.
yeah,
So you're like kind of like late 20s here, early 30s. You're 6-7 years ago.
yeah. And I mean, to be honest with you, it was really just for fun. Like that was the whole thing. It was just like, this is really cool. Plus, I owed it to Ian. Like we were trading, and he just really wanted to be a part of this show and wanted me to be on his team. Which
500
that
pounds
was-
of steel is a lot to work with, man. Like
500 pounds.
yeah, 500. Yeah,
500 pounds. Yeah. So yeah, it was but it was also just like, I don't know. He kind of felt like I did a lot for Rich compared to what they did putting in the flooring in the front of our shop and everything.
Yeah.
He told me that, which was really sweet of him. But the other thing is he just saw this show, never done it before, but he was like, this would be cool, and I want to do this with Ivan. This would be fun, and that was amazing to me, because it's literally like, I'm paying you for labor that you did, and you want me to have fun with you making some metal sculpture out of scrap. Like, this is great.
Well, maybe he enjoys laying floor, man. Maybe that's fun for him too.
Well, we became hard and fast friends after that. No,
Yeah.
he's actually he started working for me after that. He was like my right hand man for a long time.
Awesome.
But just didn't have wasn't bringing in enough money to be able to keep him happy. So he ended up walking, and he's working with cousin now, Richard.
Yeah.
But he's still doing the fabrication stuff, and he's killing it. Yeah.
The fab bug is something
Oh, yeah.
you can't get rid of.
Yeah, and he had it even when he was doing flooring,
Yeah,
but now he's doing it for a living. He's a happy man. Yeah.
I've tried to walk away from it a couple times, being like, I've been doing this since I was 17.
Yeah.
And my dad was a Boilermaker, so literally I've been around steel my whole life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a couple times I'm like, I'm done with this steel. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do something else, and it's gonna be way better. And then like 2 years later, I'm like,
right back in.
right back in, and it's like I can't get away from this stuff, man. And now I'm 46. Like, where am I gonna go now? No one wants an old man, so I gotta. I just gotta keep rolling with it now.
Hell yeah.
So when you're starting to do Scrap Fest now, aside from the Scrap Fest projects,
Yeah.
are you now in your mind? Are you looking to build bigger things as well? Like, are you starting to do the side, like your own big projects?
To be honest with you, I've always been doing metal art. Like,
Okay.
like I think I was probably 17, 18 years old the first time I got some of my my metal art into a gallery. But that's because it was the only thing I really knew how to do. You know, it was like, oh, you make some metal art and then you go to a gallery and see if they want it. And you know, there's always a ton of painters and not a lot of sculptors. So any kind of sculpture, you try and put it in a gallery in Michigan, in any of the big cities, they'll take it. They're like, sculptures? Yeah, come on in, we'll take it all. And so, you know, I started doing that, but none of this stuff ever really sold because how many people are really walking to a gallery buying art?
And where do you put it?
Yeah,
you know.
exactly, yeah. So it was just something that I did for fun. You know, and Scrapfest, again, was just something I was doing for fun. But then I started realizing, because I was working around all these other metal artists who were also participating in Scrapfest, it was like, oh, you've done these public sculptures. Like, how are you finding those jobs? What are you know? And then so I started just like hearing, you know, oh, here's this and here's this resource, and you talk to this arts council, and the arts council of, you know, Greater Lansing. Like they were huge help to me, you know, in a lot of ways, and that's how I figured out about you know RFPs, requests for proposals, and started figuring out how to write a proposal.
The business side of it, yeah.
Yeah, I got turned down for a bunch of public sculptures, and then after a while, it was like I just came up with a way of writing them where it just stuck and it worked, and it's worked every time I've tried since. So I just started doing these large public sculptures, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money there, and I was just trying to kind of climb that ladder while I was still doing the motorcycle stuff. And then when COVID hit, it was kind of like, oh, I'm watching the bank account draining down, but, you know, we don't have enough work to kind of keep it up. And Milt, he was my head mechanic at the time, and, you know, he's an older guy, and he was ready to retire. I think he was literally just sticking it out.
Just waiting.
Because we were friends, and he just didn't want to leave me hanging. And so when I was watching what was happening, it's like, I think it's just time to just shut down the motorcycle shop. I can't, you know, with COVID going on and everything, I can't
just
keep
have it
going.
running for fun. You know?
Yeah. I was just going to wait until the bank account ran out and then lose the shop. So I was like, I can't let that happen. So I shut all that down, and it was just me there for a long time. And then I hired an old friend of mine who was a machinist, Andy. I hired him to come and start working with me. And so now it's just me and Andy in there, and we're just doing the fabrication and the metal sculptures and stuff. And it's, you know, that was...
It's enough.
It was during all that when I got that call from Netflix, and it was like, this is the first day of the rest of my life.
So this is still recent. Like, this is this new path of you know, like high-end commission work, you know, like real doing like big public sculptures, getting the actual, like running your art as a business without it being the side hustle. This is now the main hustle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, my first large public sculpture wasn't until 2015. Yeah, so pretty recent. Yeah, within the last 6 years, I really started pushing for the art side of it. And to be honest with you, I love it a lot more because I love motorcycles, don't get me wrong. But when you're fixing everybody else's motorcycle, you're never riding your own. One, you know, it's never running. And then two, on top of that, it was just one of those things where you're constantly dealing with customers in and out, and there's so much headache and so much paperwork and all these different things you have to do and the different insurances you have to have. And it's just a lot to do all that. Doing the art stuff, you're dealing with like one customer at a time, and it's the city. Yeah. And as long as you make the deadline for the sculpture you have to get done, they're happy. And so you're just relaxing and working. Too. Yeah, and it's art. Like, you know, you can't do it wrong. It's subjective. So
well, you know,
so it's very, wrong, it's right? very, yeah, exactly. It's forgiving. You can just have fun with it, and it's something I've always been passionate about. And so, yeah, being able to do this, I like it a lot better than running the motorcycle shop, anyways. And you know, and now with all this and the recognition this is going to bring me, it's it's pushing me to the place that I've been trying to climb to for a long time. So it's pretty amazing, man. I can't believe I'm sitting here talking with you.
Yeah. So like, I mean, as you're laying this out now, like, I mean, you got a whole new set of playing cards in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, and like with that, there's going to be a whole new game, right? So is there any parts of that you're perhaps kind of scared or intimidated by? You know, like what parts of this?
No, not at all.
No, you're just gonna.
No, man, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm on cloud nine. I'm living it up. Are you kidding? This is amazing. I mean, when Netflix found me, I had 2,000 followers on Instagram, and I was just putting this stuff on social media to try and find a way to get my stuff out there. But when they first got a hold of me, I thought it was a joke. It was like, no, you're screwing with me.
Yeah.
You want to fly me to California to put me on a show? Yeah, sure, whatever.
Some scam.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And no, they were serious. And then and they just found me just by digging around through hashtags on Instagram when I only had like 2,000 followers. And so it's just like, that was something. I couldn't believe that. And the funny thing was I actually had NBC get a hold of me at the same time. They wanted to put me on a show called Making. It was like a crafty show.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were going to fly me out to like put me on that, but they were both filming the shows at the same time, so I had to pick one of them. And it was
They
like,
probably
okay,
did that on purpose, too.
metalworking, handicrafts, like at that.
Yeah.
The Making thing's cool. Plus, it was Nick Offerman and Amy Poehler, which, I mean, come on, how cool would it be to meet those guys?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, even though that's been on a few seasons, it's NBC, this is Netflix, and this is a metalworking show. This is what I do.
Yeah, and the judges.
I couldn't.
Like, I mean, they're people that exist in the community too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's the best part about all this is like I couldn't have, not only like been happier for what's going on, but just like, the open arms and like actually like networking with people. I mean, this is the first year I've ever been to FabTech. Mm-hmm. I've never been before. I've always known about it, but never been.
It's wild.
Yeah, getting here has literally made me feel like I've been screwing up by not doing these things. Like I'm in my shop, like knuckling down and trying to get work done, thinking that's how I'm moving forward. When being here and meeting these people just in these last couple of days, it's like, oh my God, this is what I should have been doing. This is how you move forward. This is how you network with these people, talk with these people. There's this whole community here that I didn't even realize existed, and it feels like family, man.
We bring it up on the show all the time. It's what you just said. Sometimes you're too busy working. I'm guilty of that too. You're too busy working to kind of think kind of outside the box a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
Just tied in your projects and what you're trying to get done. But the welding community, and I'm talking both social media world and the real world.
Yeah.
In the welding community is like none other. None other. Like I can't even explain it to people that aren't in the welding community.
Yeah.
Like we get together from around the world, all around the world.
Yeah.
And it's like your brothers, sisters,
Yeah.
like day one.
Exactly.
And you compare the scars and you compare the stories and you know what I mean? And it's we all are fighting the same battle. We all worked with the same medium, which is steel, which is badass. Like, I mean, I'm not putting down other trades. I'm just saying that steel is badass, right? And like, now I work for this organization. We're 100 years old.
Yeah.
Like we're 100 years old of networking. Like that's all we do. We're an association. We're free. We're like members.
Yeah.
We're like, this is exactly why we exist.
Yeah.
Is to connect welders to industry and welders to each other, to communicate, to share stories. And man, it's 100 years. And like still to this day, there's people waking up being like, there's a community. It's like, it's always been there, but you got to plug yourself in.
Hell yeah.
And when you get plugged in, it's like a poof.
Yeah.
Whole like it's turning the TV on, right? It's a whole nother game.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man.
All right, this is a good time to take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after the commercials. So today we got Ivan Iler here, and we're gonna pick up where we left off with the stories. I got some specific questions now about what's going forward. So make sure you stay tuned, and we'll be back after these 30 seconds to 1 minute. And we're back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thanks for staying with us. Hope you guys are having fun. Ivan Iler here from Michigan, showing us what's going on in the art community and now with his new projects that are going on.
Yeah.
So I got some questions a little bit more specific because I saw some stuff on your Instagram that for me as a fabricator I found very interesting. It seems like everything you do has some element of articulation or movement. I feel like that's a thing that you do. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, you're not wrong at all. Actually, to be honest, that's something that I really love. Like trying to recreate motions in nature and stuff like that's really what I want to do. That's what I love to do. I don't really make much money at it. That's actually why Scrapfest was a big part of me getting the recognition that got me onto that show, on Metal Shop Masters, is because it's something that gave me an outlet to do that. Because I'm just screwing around having fun doing what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But, when I'm making public sculptures, I have a tendency to stay away from kinetics. I do some kinetics, but I try and keep it simple. Don't do a lot if I do any, because you're going to have wearing parts, and it's going to be outside all the time, and it's going to need maintenance, and there's things like that to think about. And so doing the things I really want to do, like trying to recreate like the movement of a whale or a fox chasing a rabbit or whatever it might be, those aren't the kind of things that I've been able to make money at. So it's something I would just do just out of passion of trying to do that and trying to figure out the way to make all that work. And yeah, the mechanical aspect of it is just something I've always loved. But
So how do you work that out? So like in my mind, in my experience, I would approach this either two ways.
yeah,
Right. One would be to use computer software. Right. Because I've gone down that path as as a business owner, you kind of have to go down that path where you have to start doing like legit designs and CAD.
Sure, yeah.
So like there's software where you can have the computer figure out the range of motions and whether this will work and what the angles and the lengths need to be and like all these intersecting parts and how they relate and like where things will bind and catch and all that stuff. The other angle is cut, weld, tack, no, rip it apart, cut, weld, tack, no, getting better, no, cut it apart. Do you do both? Are you a little bit in the middle? Or are you one or the other?
No, to be honest with you, I'm terrible with computers, like detrimentally so. I've recently gotten decent at putting a two-dimensional thing in a computer so I can cut it on a plasma cutter.
Yeah, well, that's smart, man. It's important.
Just decent,
Yeah.
But with the mechanical stuff, I just always had a head for physics and things
You
like
can
that.
kind of visualize it.
Oh yeah. It's just something I see. Yeah, like all I have to do is figure out what it is I want to make. Once I know what I want to make, then I can already see how I can make it work, and it's just a matter of putting it together.
And you get it pretty close every time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Man, I'd love to see that process because I've had to build a lot of articulating things. And, sometimes they give me blueprints and sometimes they don't. And some things, I used to work with this old guy named Al Deschen. He was like 72 when I started working with him, and I thought he was like 7 years past retirement. Old farmer, dropped out of school in grade 6.
Yeah.
But he had been working in fab his whole life, and he was a certified, like nationally recognized Canadian jig maker, making jigs for like large scale. So he got like hired by like Ford. These big companies that have $1 million computers would call up Al at the farm.
Yeah.
To be like, we need to build a jig for rotating these parts that are tons.
Yeah.
And we want it to be able to rotate and move by the strength of a man, 80 pounds of leverage.
Yeah.
And he would
just
just
come up with a gearbox.
Yeah, and he would just come up with, and I worked with him under him as a young fabricator for 5 years.
Wow.
And
what a treat.
it was a treat. And he was a fun dude and very free with his knowledge.
Yeah.
And he would just see it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have that skill. I mean, I learned lots from him,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's something you're kind of almost born with or not born with. Like, it's like he just could visualize the counterweights.
Yeah.
Like, this needs to go here.
Yeah.
This needs to go there. Watch where that's going to swing around. You're going to have to cope this out because that's going to come around hard. And I'd be like, how do you, like, that's amazing. And you know what he would actually do as a hobby is he would make 1/32 scale replicas of machinery that he worked on in industry.
Oh, nice.
In full range of motion.
Wow.
So
Cool.
any of these big things that he would get hired, he
Yeah.
would make a little tiny one.
Wow.
Out of like little tiny parts, and it would do the exact same thing. And I was
awesome.
like, and he would sell like these things. Like he would sell them, like John Deere got him to do like a whole set
I
of
bet,
all their
yeah.
equipment
Yeah.
in miniature.
Yeah.
And he'd make like a ton of cash doing these things.
Bet. Yeah, what
right?
CEO wouldn't want that hanging on the wall in his office?
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was like, Al, you got the coolest job
Hell yeah.
ever. And I was like 25, 26. And, I was just like starstruck with this old
Yeah,
farmer
that's
guy.
awesome.
He was like, you got to eat at least 6 eggs every morning to get going. It's like, you crazy. Like, I don't know. What's your heart rate? Like, well, he's like 72 and still pushing, right?
Yeah,
So,
hell yeah.
did you have a mentor? Did you have something coming up? Either YouTube, real life? Is there?
No, to be honest,
No?
I didn't really have a mentor coming up for this kind of stuff. But in a way, I did. When I was, I don't know, about 14, I got a summer job. It was like a keep troubled kids out of trouble kind of program.
Yeah.
So I was working as a janitor, and I saved up some money, and that was when I bought an old 1970 CB750 Honda, and I was gonna. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, we do a lot of talking here. That's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out. Yeah.
Well, now that you said that, we're not.
Nice, thanks. So I got this old 1970 Honda CB750. And I wanted to chop it up and turn it into a custom bike, and it would have been my first custom bike. Well, I needed to know how to weld to do that. Some people collect stamps. I collect skills. I want to know how to do everything. I'm always trying to learn. If there's there's an old guy saying something, I'm just like ear to the tracks, like, oh, what do you got for me? Like, tell me what you know, because
soak it up.
yeah. As soon as you think you know everything, you're not going to learn anything, and so it's like every day I'm trying to learn something new. It's just like I'm just fascinated by the way the world works, and I want to know how it all works. I mean, I've spent days just sitting there watching ants crawl up vines carrying aphids, and like realizing there's a symbiotic relationship between these two insects. Like the ants are protecting the aphids are feeding the ants, and it's like us with cows, but on this miniature scale.
It's like you with a
amazing.
scrapyard.
I just want to see how the world works. Yeah,
You're putting it back out there, things that would be going back into the earth.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking about these old Oldsmobiles, and I was like, I've gotten to work with some old steel like that. I have a scrapyard in my town, so
Hell yeah.
for the school, the college, it was we were always struggling for funding, and I just went to the old company. I was like, yeah, man, give us some scrap for the students to burn up. Like,
Yeah.
But some of that old steel,
Yeah.
it's such good quality steel.
Yeah.
And it's got that patina, and it's got it's pitted, but not rusted all the way. It's got that texture to it that you can't get out of new steel. Like, you can't just create that look.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something really cool about building with that too, because it's like it's almost like the limitations of what you have before you influence what it is you're going to make. I mean, there's been times where I'm looking at something and I just start making something because of what it looks like or because of how it is. So making things out of scrap metal is just really fun to do. I love making things out of new metal too, but when you start with scrap, sometimes the scrap influences what you're building, and that's something to that.
I see stuff online, man. I don't even get it. I don't get it. There's people out there there's lots of artists out there that'll take 600 wrenches or 500 spoons and they just create these the stuff that Barbie's doing in her garage or in her shop, and I mean, it's just 700 nuts welded together to make a form, and it looks smooth and free flowing. And I mean, aside from the patience, maybe that's I have an issue when it comes to patience, that I feel I'm just and out the door. I made my first blade last summer. I'm gonna try to make a blade. I got a bunch of old spring steel that have been donated to me. I got lots of friends that they work out in farms, and I'm gonna drop you off some steel, man. I'll take any donation, right?
Yeah.
So I got this old spring steel. And I was like, okay, I want to try to make a blade and put together myself a little forge, and that's the easy part, right? So I got that going, and watching TV shows. I'm like, okay, and then I'm a super nerd, so I'm reading books. Metallurgy is one of my loves. I love the theory of metallurgy. I got a web series. If you want to learn about metallurgy, I put maybe you know more than me. You got to teach me something. But
I don't know about that.
I was trying to figure this out. So I went through the process. I kind of drew it out. I based it off of a book, like a science fiction fantasy book that I read that I love. There's a blade in that book that comes up all the time. And I was like, okay, I want to try to recreate this.
Can you say the book?
Yeah, it's The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan.
Okay.
So it's a 14-book series. There are actually TV shows coming out on Rhymes with Blamazon. And it's going to be coming out. I'm pumped, right? I'm pumped.
Hell yeah.
So there's a ruby hilted dagger, it's called. So it's got a ruby in the bottom. Yeah. And then it's and then it's got they always call it with a sickening curve in the book. So it's got this weird curve. So I drew it out, and I was making it, and I felt like I was going pretty good. My wife got me some rosewood for the handle, and then I ordered a big actual Swarovski red ruby, fake ruby for the a big 2-inch one for the bottom. I had to figure out how to inset it. Never insetted a jewel before. Having to figure this stuff out. And what killed me, and it made me kind of want to throw this thing into the garbage and get rid of the damn thing, is when I had to do the fuller.
Oh yeah,
down the center, because I'm so anal. I want things to be perfect.
You're trying to get it just right.
Yeah, that's the mentality I got. If something's not right, I can't just walk away from it. It just eats me if I don't feel like it's done. Right. So I did the fuller down the one side.
Yeah.
And it would look good.
Yeah.
Flipped it over, start the fuller on the other side, and it's not in the exact same position.
Gotcha.
So the fullers don't line up exactly the same if you flip the blade back and forth.
Yeah. That's tough, man.
Oh, man. I still, right now, my insides are ugh. And so,
I can tell it's hard to talk about.
It's I have to go cry after I'm going. So I had this thing all built up, and I actually made it for my mother-in-law, because when I first met my wife, I was talking about books. I'm a nerd. I got a huge library at home of books, 3 walls full of books.
Oh yeah, well I'm always looking for good suggestions. You got any?
I tons, man, tons.
Hell yeah.
And my mother-in-law came over to my house for the first time, so my wife now is my second wife, so I was older. I already had my stuff, right? So I met her, and she's like, "Oh, you got all these books." And then she saw the Wheel of Time. She's like, "I love those books." So it was our first connection of me new in the family. I got along with the mother-in-law because of the books.
Wow, hell yeah!
So this gift was for her birthday.
Oh wow!
So I spent 3 months making this thing. Unforged in fire. They make this thing in 4 hours. I'm 3 months later, sanding it, trying to. I don't have those tools though.
Sure, yeah.
right? Like I have like a 1 inch,
Yeah. Well,
what do they call belt sander?
Sure,
They have
yeah.
like a 6 inch belt. I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm like for like 900 hours,
Yeah.
right? So I did this. I walked away from it. I gifted it. Of course, anybody outside of me
Yeah, sure.
loved it. I put it up online. I loved it. I
Yeah,
shared it in
yeah.
like this nerd group.
You're
Everyone's
on
like,
worst critic.
yeah, everyone's like, this is amazing. It's, oh, can you make me one? How much would you charge for something
Yeah.
like this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there every time someone shares a picture of it. I'm like,
Oh, I hate that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have that? Do
Oh,
you have that
sure.
out there?
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I look at and I'm like, oh man, damn.
Give me the one. Hopefully no one gets mad. But what's one that you kind of think in your mind? Like, if I had a second shot, I would take it at that one.
Oh, there's a big public sculpture that I did, and I'm not gonna say which or anything like that, but it was one of those things where I think when you got an artist and you like their work and you trust them and you want them to build you something good, you got to give them the freedom to be able to do that. There was just too many fingers in the pie. There's too many people going like, ooh, it'd be cool if we did this. Ooh, I'm an artist too. I have an opinion. I'm an
That's
artist
the
too. And
worst.
so it was like I'm trying to make people happy because I'm, need the commission, need to get the bills paid, and then it's also part of the thing working with people when you can, and it just ended up like ruining the thing. It wasn't what I wanted.
It wasn't a
at all.
positive experience.
And no, it wasn't really it was a positive experience. I got to meet a lot of really cool people, but the piece itself, it's like, man, it's ruined. And It doesn't look like what I wanted it to look like. It's not what it was supposed to be. And I let that happen, and so I'm like ashamed of myself for it. It's like I should have just put my foot down and said, "No, if you want me to do this, you got to let me
that's
build
part
it.
of the
You got to let me
process,
build
man.
it the way I want to build it." Yeah.
I remember when I started getting into like full car builds, which is a big step from just parts, right?
Yeah.
I had my first full car build. The guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, we got a car show in a year.
Yeah.
I want to, if we do a sponsorship back and forth, I'll give you a car, and we'll work on it for the full year, and we'll show it at the show."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I've never done that before. Like, this is right down to the frame. Let's see what we got. It was an Acura Integra, right? Which is like, we were putting this in a muscle car show. And he's like, I want to put it in an import in a muscle car show. And I'm like, I like that. I mean, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So like, we lowered it, we roll caged it, we put in like it was like every part that we could pull off, we had to modify somehow before we put it back on.
Yeah.
And
sure. Yeah.
that's when I learned how to carbon fiber. That's when I learned how to fiberglass, things that I'd never
Nice.
really worked with before. That
Yeah.
they're actually not that hard to work with. They're
Yeah.
actually all right.
Yeah,
Like you just got to take your time and make
Yeah.
sure that you're not doing it in the cold.
Yeah.
It's got to be hot, right?
Yeah.
So I'm working on this thing, and it started having the same thing. We're getting close to the car show, and he's like, maybe I want to change the color, or maybe I want to change this, and I want to change that. And I was like, nah, well, it's tough to do those changes now. Like, I mean, we're getting things powder coated. Now you
Yeah.
want a color change? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that easy, man. Plus,
Yeah.
like, I mean, how much money are we getting in
Yeah,
here?
exactly,
Because this can get real out of control, right?
Oh yeah.
And we got the car done. At this point, the car is like basically not street legal in any way. Like, I mean,
Yeah, sure.
you can't even roll with it. And we put in the show. We got best in show.
Nice.
We actually put 4 cars in that year, and we took 7 of 9 awards at this car show, and we didn't put in one muscle car. We put in a Sunfire, Pontiac Sunfire. We cut it in half and attached the Cavalier front, so it was a Cavafire. So, like, I mean, how lame is that? But we did like a tricolor paint with Lamborghini doors, all these stupid things, like
Yeah.
just like let's just be weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah,
And I
man.
mean, the old guys loved it. They're like, I would have never thought a $16,000 car could like, what the hell are you guys doing in that shop of yours? I was like, I don't know,
Hell yeah.
man.
Oh, that's awesome.
That car, he went out, ripped around town that night, got it pulled off the road, and it freaking got nailed, pulled out. Like, it was gone. They impounded it for life.
Damn.
And I was like, damn. The
That
next
sucks.
time I had a car come in, I knew what to do. I was like, look, you're dropping this off. I'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
I'll send you some pictures along the way.
Yeah.
But I don't want you rolling in and getting, because it starts
Yeah.
to mess with your vision. It really does.
Yeah. Big time, man.
So now, kind of next steps is going to get interesting for you. You know,
yeah.
I feel like you're probably going to pick up some work from this. Like you feel like
Oh,
even this week,
absolutely,
you
yeah.
feel like there's going to be things coming in. Are you being inspired by
Oh,
other
yeah.
people? You got ideas rolling?
Yeah, being inspired by people. Also, just, being welcomed in with open arms. This is going to be huge for me. One of the things I was planning on doing, to try and put another iron in the fire to make a little more money at my shop, was I was thinking, you know what? I'll take that old side of the shop, because I built onto my existing shop now, so I've got my whole fab shop, and I have the old shop that used to be the motorcycle repair shop. So I had like a clean shop and a dirty shop. I was thinking, well, why don't I take that side and put some welders in there and do like a welding school. But it's like, hey, you want to learn how to weld because you want to be able to put stuff together. You want to be able to make something, but you're not looking to get certified. Here's an affordable way to do that. Come down here. I'll show you everything you need to know. Get out the chalkboard and go into details about what's going on. Give them like the full thing, but it would just be, here's how you stick two pieces of metal together. Here's the equipment you're going to need. Here's everything. And I've been talking to welding companies that are going to, now supply me with the welders I need for that, which I wouldn't have been able to afford that otherwise. I've got people going, oh, this is a great idea. I love this. Like, we'll help you. We'll get you what you need to do this and that. And so it's already, changing everything for me. And then on top of that, the recognition from the show, like I said, when Netflix found me, I had like 2,000 followers. Like, last time I checked, I was just under 10,000 now, and that was within the last couple of days. That's insane.
That's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
So, you're not the first person this week that's come up to me and talked to me about, how to start up a school. Because that's kind of my background, is helping start up training programs. That's what I did overseas,
nice.
is set up schools,
Hell yeah.
programs like that. That's how I ended up in this job, actually. So,
Yeah.
and people have been coming, I've been thinking about starting up a school, but for art.
Yeah.
So I've had this actually come up a couple times this week.
Nice.
And
All right.
and exactly what you said, I think, is the first step. Talk to the sponsors.
Yeah.
And talk to them all. Don't be afraid. Go talk to the big colors.
Yeah.
The big colors are out there. Of course, hit them up. See what they can do. Sometimes they come up,
Sure.
sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But don't forget about the little colors in there too.
No,
There's
yeah.
lots of suppliers on these floors right now. FabTech, in Canada, we got CanWeld. That's our big one. So
Yeah.
same thing. We do the exact same thing. Big venue, all the producers, international. Hit them all up and see.
Oh,
And don't think that you need to just look at machines. And this is what I had a conversation with a guy last night. I said, hey, I'll give you a piece of advice that's really useful and help me out huge.
Yeah.
Try to find someone that'll sponsor your grinding discs.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
Just
sure.
your consumables.
Yeah.
Your bandsaw blades.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah.
And say, I'll put your sign on my front of my door.
Yeah.
And I'll say, all abrasives by X.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you just run their abrasives.
Yeah.
And it could be some small upstart company coming out of, Wichita, wherever,
Yeah, and now they're giving you the stuff you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're giving you the stuff you need, because every cent that they give you there, you can spend somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And everyone just says well, I need 17 welders. Okay, that's awesome, but that's a $300,000 ask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you go for the $100 ask? Because
Yeah.
that's still $100 in your pocket for something else later, right?
Well, and the funny thing is like, I feel weird even asking about this stuff. I never had a sponsor before. It was actually, talking to Tom and Ray from the show. Like, when we first got on the show, it was like they were talking about the fact that they were sponsored by this person, that person, this person. It was like, what do you mean you're sponsored? And they're like,
Like
they
your-
give us
like
equipment.
your
I was like,
mom?
wait,
Like-
that's a thing? They just give you equipment to do what you need? Like, yeah. And it's like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love that. So I feel weird even asking people. But the cool thing is because of the show, like, I'm not even really having to ask people. I'm having
Yeah.
people approaching me, telling me that they can do things for me. And I mean, even coming here, money's always tight. The shop, I'm always in and out of the red right now. It's kind of
Yeah,
like just trying to keep
that's
the bills
business,
paid.
man.
Yeah. And so coming here is just, I'm also kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. I like to just go
Which
on an
is usually
adventure.
goes hand in hand with people that are always riding the red line.
Yeah, but no, even now, like I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
I could have $1 million and I'd still probably just do things the way I do them because
Yeah.
it's fun. It's an adventure. You never know
That's
what's going
right.
to happen. So
Yeah.
coming here, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to take a train. It's cheap. It's fun. Train ride. I haven't been on
Yeah.
a train ride in a while. And you can get a train ticket for like $30
Yeah.
from Michigan here. It's
Train's
like a
good
4-hour
travel,
train
man.
ride.
And it's
great, yeah.
plush, good seats.
Yeah, and so I hopped on the train and came down here, but I don't have a hotel. I didn't plan anything out. I was like, well, that doesn't matter. I mean, look at me. I'm 6'2". I'm 240 pounds, and I look like I'm poor. Who's going to mess with me? So I just sleep on a park bench or something. I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
No big
yeah.
deal. I'll meet some amazing
I bet you had a
people and have
hotel room in no time.
Well, that's the crazy thing. I was joking around telling that, saying that, and someone from Hypothermia heard it, like, over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I know, I got somebody tapping me on the shoulder, and they go, hey, we got you a hotel room. And it's like, yo, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
You guys got me a hotel room. Like, you didn't have to do that. And then they're, talking about, like, sponsoring me, giving me, equipment to try out, stuff that they, and it's just like, I mean, the hotel room is just above and beyond. I never
Yeah,
would have expected
yeah.
that. So it's like, not only are these, not only is this like the best of the best, because Hypothermia, I mean, they're the
Yeah.
top of the class, and
Yeah.
that's what I use. But mine are dinosaurs; they're so old.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, I bought them like 10 years old. 10
But
years
I bet
ago.
they still work fine.
They still work great. I never
Yeah,
had any
yeah.
problems with them, but no, they're like, yeah, we're going to hook you up with the new equipment. Here's this hotel. And they're all just so friendly. Like, I've been taking the bus back and forth with Hypothermia, you know, in this hotel that they got me set up in. It's just like, yeah, so not only are you the best
That's a
of the
cool
best,
hotel too.
but yeah, it is a nice hotel, yeah. But then it's also like the people there are just like really down to earth and really cool and just amazing. And it's like you're just being welcomed in with open arms like this, you know, by these people who you've always looked up to. You're like, oh my God, I love your stuff. You know, like, I mean, I recently had like, you know, Bailey's Industrial follow me on Instagram. It's like, what?
Yeah,
like, I don't have any of their equipment. That's just, you know, I don't have the money for it. But I mean, the amount of different kinds of equipment they make, it's like, wow. And yeah, to just have them follow me like that, it was like, no, this is so surreal.
Well, and I'm gonna do the shout out. I'm gonna do it. You know, my boss might get yelled at me later, but Hypotherm, they stepped up this FabTech even for us. Yeah, so Hypotherm has been a big sponsor for the CWB for decades.
Hell yeah!
Right? They help us with like education programs. They help us with like kids and camps and like, I mean, they do a lot of the stuff that. As an association, we're not for profit. No. We need that help, right? Yeah. And they stepped up. Absolutely. And this week here at FabTech, they have been fantastic. They've gotten us these rooms to do these podcasts. Yeah. You know, we didn't even ask. They're like, exactly, like, you need a place to record your podcast.
Oh, we got you.
Yeah, we'll get you one. It's like, really? We were planning on doing them like in the hotel room or in a lobby or like wherever, like outside at the bus station. I don't know. We just brought the gear and figured, we'll podcast. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Right? Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden we're getting like these rooms, and it's like, you know, and like, I mean, even you, they were like, hey, same man, thing, do you want to do Ivan? It's like, well, yeah. Like, what the hell? Why, like, I mean, it saves me walking up to you and tapping on your shoulder, being like, hey, you don't know who I am, but because I mean, like you said, it is a little awkward. It is a little awkward to just walk up and ask, right? Like,
yeah, and it's weird if you're asking for something, you never know. Yeah, you know, I've been having people asking me like, you know, all weekend, like, oh, can I get a picture with you, or you know, can I get you to sign something? And it's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm flattered. This is amazing. Like, yes.
Have you gotten to the point where you carry your own marker?
No, I'm kidding. I always got a Sharpie in my pocket.
Then you know you're real when you carry your own Sharpie. You're like, I got you. Because that means you were expecting it.
No, I use it for other things. I never had to sign the signature with it.
A gold Sharpie, right?
No.
Suddenly you come out of this sponsored by a paint marker company now. We got you.
Hey, I'd take it. Paint markers?
Yeah. They're expensive.
Yeah.
And there's some good ones down there too.
I seen a booth with just nothing but paint markers, and I was like, ooh, look at this.
So now walking FabTech, you know, like I feel like you have had a pretty busy schedule. Have you had time to just walk the show and snoop around?
Oh, yeah. No, I've definitely been taking the time to walk around and check everything out, and it's just amazing. There's stuff out there I didn't even know existed.
I'm sure you've heard this from a lot of people. This is like half the size as normal.
Yeah, I have heard that, and I can't believe that because it's huge. Yeah. I mean, I've been walking around for days. I haven't seen it all.
No.
It's crazy.
It is normally, and I mean, I'm sure in Atlanta, I think next year's in Atlanta, it'll be back to normal size as long as, you know, hopefully things level out. At this size, so I'd say our Canadian one is kind of around this size. Like, we're never as big as FabTech because it's like the U.S. has more people, right? Sure. But even at this size, like you said, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And there's like 10 of everything.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I like paint markers. It's like, oh, cool. There's one cool paint marker place. Oh, there's another one. Oh, damn, there's another one. Holy, I didn't know there was 10 paint marker companies. You know,
right? Yeah. Well, and some of the stuff people are coming up with, I mean, you're literally looking at the newest and best of everything out there. So people are like showing up with this stuff that, again, a lot of it I didn't even know existed. I saw one company that their entire premise was just designed on cable maintenance. And so it's like all these different plastic holding systems. Like, you know, you got that snake on the back of a CNC where it's bringing the cables back and forth and keeping them
clean and protected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they had all these different ways of doing that, and I was just standing there in awe because they had all these little automated, you know, things to show how they worked. And here's this one being pulled out, and this spirals out this way.
I did see
here's
that.
Here's this one where it's,
I couldn't
like
even figure out how
snake.
it stood up. This one came out and followed the cable on its own. Like, what's holding it up?
Yeah, it was just wild, and it was like to think that there's even a company out there that just does that, and I'll see the things that they were doing and how they were doing them. I was just like fireworks going off in my head, like my gears are just turning, like, oh my God, the things I just
could do with that.
Oh yeah.
I heard a saying years and years and years ago. They said that if you learn something, you actually didn't learn it unless you're thinking of what to do with it immediately. So like if you see something and then you just walk away, you didn't really take it in.
Yeah.
But if you see something, you start being like, what
man.
could I do with that?
Yeah.
Then it's in there. Like
Yeah.
now it's a part of you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that happens quite a bit here. This year it's very heavy in the robots and automation.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of that, yeah.
So when I was still working with the colleges, I mean that would have been a lot more interest to me because that's stuff that we need. Like you need to do that stuff to
Sure.
stay on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, in my garage, that ain't happening unless Cobot company wants to throw me a robot. I mean, I'll take one, but I don't know what it'd be like making drinks for me, like vodka martinis.
That would be pretty cool.
But I mean,
you'd better invite me over for a drink if you had a robot making martinis.
well,
That
you know,
sounds like a
I'll invite you
blast.
over for a drink anytime. If you're out in the middle of Canada, because I live
Yeah.
out in the middle of the boonies, Canada, you know, you can come by anytime. you
Dude,
know.
I'm coming
And
to
if
you.
you like cars,
I get a train ride.
yeah, we'll go drive around in my car at 1,000 miles an hour and have fun.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm in. I'm there. Sold.
You know, and where I live in Canada, I get in trouble for the how loud. I got a Roush Mustang. It's
Yeah.
really loud. But man, I think loud vehicles here in Chicago don't seem to be a problem.
Yeah, no.
We got Mexican Independence Week going on.
Yeah.
The parties on the streets are nuts, man.
Yeah. It's a different world. I don't know. It's like, I mean, even I remember one time I asked a cop when I was working at the gas station. He came in there and was like, "Hey, I got a question for you. Like, you know, I got a Harley that's got like foot-long pipes coming off it. You know, the thing will like blow flames out of these pipes, and it's loud as hell, like obnoxiously so. And you won't pull me over and give me a ticket for that. But if the muffler falls off my pickup truck, I'm getting a fix-it ticket. Like, what's up with that?" And he looks at me and goes, "But motorcycles are supposed to be loud." What the hell?
I heard that
crazy.
motorcycles. Of course, this is coming from a biker friend of mine, but that's a safety feature.
Yeah.
then they hear you coming.
Sure, yeah. Loud play, save lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, if you got a fancy car that looks like it's supposed to be loud, the cops aren't going to screw with you. And it's just the weirdest thing. It's like it's like they got, you know, laws around the stuff, but they're just like, meh. Who cares? I like loud things too.
Yeah.
It's just-
I don't think my
yeah.
neighbor. So I got personal rules with my vehicles.
Yeah.
I won't start up a large vehicle before 7, and I won't drive it after 11 p.m. Just to respect the neighbors, right?
That's nice. That's respectful. Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
And there's a biker guy that lives down the street, and it's funny because like right at 7:01, we're both like blah blah blah. Like he's got his
Oh,
bike going, I
God.
got my car going. We always kind of roll out the same way. It's like
I bet you got people on the street where you hear their alarm clock. It's like, oh, yep, time to get up,
Yeah,
7
time to get
o'clock.
up.
Yeah.
here's a funny story. We got a news reporter that lives down the street. He's like a famous news reporter in our neighborhood, right?
right.
And he lives in between me and biker guy.
No,
His
okay.
house is right in the middle.
Biker guy.
So we're watching the news. Me and my wife are watching the 6 o'clock news. Like every day, we both kind of get home around the same time. We're watching 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
It's part of our routine. Kind of see what's going on in the neighborhood. And all of a sudden, this news reporter comes on TV and he's like, "Special report by blah blah blah, loud vehicles."
Oh, no, really?
And he's got like,
Oh, he's pissed.
"Are the police doing enough with loud vehicles in your area? The nuisance and obnoxious
wow.
vehicles in Regina." And so then, like
yeah.
a couple days later, I see the biker guy go by, and I'm like, I wave him down. I'm like,
Yeah.
and he pulls over. I'm like, "Did you see the news?" And he's like, "I saw that."
Yeah.
I'm like, so like. Do you feel like guilty? Because I feel
Yeah.
like that was very much like directed at us. you know?
I believe it was, yeah.
And he's like, "No, man, I'm just gonna sit out there and just blah blah."
Yeah. Just make it worse. Just do donuts out in front of his house.
So I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So like, are you planning on staying in your shop? Like, let's pretend. Let's pretend.
Sure.
You're a millionaire next
Okay.
week,
All right.
right? You sign some big contracts.
This is a very fun pretend game
Right,
we're
like
playing
machines
right now.
roll
$1 million
in. You sign a
sounds
couple
great.
sponsors.
Yep.
You're on a payroll now. You're not worrying about bills. They're just paid.
Sure,
Things are
yeah.
coming in.
Yep.
You staying where you are? You
Yeah.
expand the shop, or are you looking to move somewhere else, or like?
No, to be honest with you, I built the shop the way that I built it because of the things that I do. So, I mean, like, for example, I've got a tower that goes up 4 stories. That's 16 by 16 foot in the middle of the shop, and it just shoots up 4 stories.
So you can do
And
height.
I've got an I-beam up there, with a hoist on it, and so I mean, I've literally built the section of the shop, so that I could do the things that I'm doing. Like, it fits perfect. It's exactly what I need it to be for what I'm doing. So, I mean, yeah, I'd stay where I'm at and keep doing
And
what
if you
I'm
start
doing.
getting too much machinery, you just add on. You got space to put more shop space out there. You kind of maxed out.
Yeah. No, I'm not maxed out, and I've actually got more room on the property too. So if
Yeah.
I needed to, I'd just add another extension on
Yeah.
the building, just build onto it. But I like it there, and Michigan's home, and it's yeah, it's a nice place, and I got a lot of history there. Come from a long line of loggers, like, it's like people coming over from Scotland or up from West Virginia, over from Ireland, to like hunt the mighty white pine. There's a museum up in Newbury, a loggers museum, and my great uncle Bill's got like wood carvings in there that he did, and
That's
stuff.
wild.
And so yeah, it's like it's home,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I'd stay. I mean, I live right in the middle of Michigan, so it's kind of flat and boring. It might be kind of cool to get like out towards like something a little more attractive. Like
I live in the middle of flat and boring, dude.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you. People make fun of where I live all the time. Especially, like they're always like, "Oh, you live in Regina, Saskatchewan. Why do you want to live out there? You can live anywhere you want with your job." It's like,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something for me. The flat prairies,
Sure.
the clean skies, the clean air, the
it's
clean
whatever calls
water,
to you, yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I don't got to worry about nothing where I live. Everything is safe.
Yeah.
And, I can go drink water from a stream and it's
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah,
you know what
that's
I mean?
nice,
Like, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. And
Yeah.
like, food grows around me everywhere, so my eating's cheap.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Fuel is cheap. We got every mineral. Like,
Yeah.
I've never been unemployed, dude.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Like,
You're
I've never
covered,
been a day without a job. Like I've
yeah.
been either quit or fired at work. I walk out, I walk down the street, and I'm putting my boots back on.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of community I live in, and we're
Hell
pretty
yeah.
tight. And
Nice.
people are like, make fun of me all you want, but I'm gonna be out on my boat on the lake this weekend. So
Yeah.
good luck.
Well, and that's one of the only things I mean. I guess it's just like it's not nothing against like being flat and all that, but at the same time, like Michigan's got some really beautiful places and those lakes. I mean, come on, like it wouldn't be too bad living next to a lake.
yeah. I'm a camping guy.
Yeah.
So like I thought about getting a cottage. It seems like the thing old people do, like
Yeah, sure,
you
yeah.
get a cottage, right? You get a cottage. I got a cottage at the lake. People always say they're going to the lake at the cottage, and I've never been
Yeah.
that guy. Like we grew up poor too. It's like I don't know
Yeah,
what are
yeah.
you talking
No,
about?
yeah.
Like my cottage, like I could take a cardboard box to the bridge, and there's my cottage, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So, me and my wife been talking about it, but we love camping. We like adventures.
Yeah.
Right. So we're very adventurous. So we rarely go to the same place twice. Like every year, we kind of just like. We'll buy like a park pass, right?
Yeah.
So you just get like the year park pass, right? It's way cheaper. And then, so we'll either pick provincial, regional, or federal because there's like the different states of levels of park pass.
Sure.
Depending on how we're doing, we're like, let's go medium or let's go cheap or let's go expensive. But then we stick to that.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of be like, there.
Yeah,
That's our summer,
Yeah.
And I don't know, if as soon as you get a cabin, you're like,
You're just going there.
you're just going, you're like tethered. It's just like home too.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So
I don't know
it's
if I'm down with that.
No, it doesn't sound great. No.
No, I probably just downselled the cabin industry there. So sorry to all the cabin salesmen, but
Well, no, because that's the whole thing. Is I would say that we're in the minority in that. There's probably
Yeah.
a lot of people who just want something easy and nice, and they own it, and they just go there when they want, and that's there for them and ready. There's a lot of people like that stuff. So
I would say the
more
majority.
power to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so too.
You know,
but
like-
I'm with you though.
yeah, I like adventure.
Yeah, adventure's where it's at.
I've gotten lots of opportunities for adventure,
Yeah.
not because I'm any better than anyone, but because I don't say no.
yeah, hell yeah.
I don't say no.
That's the trick.
That's
Say
the
yes.
trick, right?
Yeah.
Like people are like, "How did you get those gigs in Africa, man?" Like they're wild. Like I was in the middle of the jungle for like
Yeah,
3 months,
see,
like
that's
literally.
awesome, man.
And I was like, because they offered it to like 7 guys before me,
Yeah.
and they all said no.
Yeah, it's just
And they
crazy.
came to me, and I was like,
Who-
I'm there,
who
man.
would
Like,
say
what?
no to that?
Well, people are like, I don't know what I'll eat. Like, I don't like the food. It'll be too hot.
Oh my God! Okay, let's go.
Are you kidding me? I was out
Yeah.
there, like no running water,
Yeah.
no electricity,
Yeah.
trying to teach welding.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. I love it. That's great, man.
Like, we're bringing out gen sets to Lincoln,
Hell
like
yeah.
welders out there,
Wow.
like on pallets pulled by people, not
Yeah.
even like horses. Like
Yeah.
it's like 10 dudes with rope, like
Yeah.
hauling these things like 14 kilometers out into the jungle. It's
Wow, man,
and
that's
then
awesome.
and of
Yeah.
course nothing plugs in because everything's weird. And you're
Yeah.
like cutting wires and sorry, Lincoln, this is totally not allowed. Cutting wires and jamming them into the gen set to get power. But hey, we got power.
Yeah.
Lights are on. Like.
Hell yeah.
And you know what? I wouldn't trade that for the world, man. Like I don't know who
No.
wouldn't do that.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I was talking to David Madero. He was telling me about doing the same thing. He's got to travel around the world teaching art classes, metal art
Man,
classes.
that'd be wild.
Yeah, and he's been like all these different places. He's been to Japan. He's been over here. He's been over there, like teaching people how to do metal art the way that he does it. And it's like, God, man, living the dream.
How would you like to do
Oh,
that?
I would love to do that. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Anyway, if I ever had an invitation to something like that, if anybody wanted me to go and teach welding anywhere in the world, I'm in.
All right, so to contact Ivan Iler for
No, keep going, man. Roll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
if anybody wants to hire this young man to go out and teach some art classes anywhere in the world,
I'm in. I'm not kidding. I'm in. Yeah.
I get 10% just for that. Just for that. All right, let's make this clear right now. That's a 10%
Hey,
commission.
we haven't signed anything now. Hold on
Wait
a second.
a second. It's a handshake, right? It's verbal agreement. Yeah, we got tape.
You kind of have,
Yeah.
you kind of have proof of it there. Yeah.
So you got any projects on the go right now? You got
Yeah.
something on the build?
Yeah, actually, I just got a commission for a bonsai tree that I'm going to build for a provision living. It's like a nice retirement center, like an old folks home kind of place, and they're in East Lansing, Michigan, so where MSU is and all that, and they're building this whole new facility, and they wanted something out there, and they wanted something that talked to growth and like all these different things. And I love bonsai. I started, I've been actually living at my shop for a little while now, and I've been, kind of at the end of the day, just making a little more homey with these plants and bonsai trees and stuff. So I've been doing a lot more bonsai.
And that's like the meditation process of the bonsai, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I just love the aspect of it, and watching something grow and shaping it as it grows. It's just beautiful. And so, hearing what they wanted to represent, I was like, oh, this would be a cool opportunity to build a big metal bonsai.
And for old people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
They're going to love that.
You got to
yeah.
love it. You're like, they get forgotten a lot,
Yeah, unfortunately so. Yeah.
So like giving them a little sunshine is a good feeling.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we used to go to old folks' homes and like play guitar and sing and stuff.
I did the same thing. We used to.
Did you really?
Yeah, we used to go down there. We'd help with the
yeah.
kitchens. We'd go give out
Yeah.
the foods. We'd do like the birthday, sing them happy birthday and stuff. And people would be like, "Why do you guys do that?" It's like, man. So I didn't grow up with grandparents because we were immigrants here. My grandparents were back home, so I didn't have that. So we would actually like look for opportunities to hang out with old people. And I love old people. I'm like, I see like just the other day there was an old man walking. I was like, that cute old man. Like, look at it. He's got a little walker out there. He's this cute old man. And I've been so reckless with my life. I'm like, the odds of me getting to that age are very low. Like, I'll probably, die with an electrode in my ear or some stupid weird accident in my garage or something. Like,
who the hell wants to be 90 anyway?
Me, I do. I want to be 90. I want to be like that 90-year-old I saw the other day. He's out with his walker.
No,
and he's just looking around.
I'm
like,
with you. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be very cool. Now, with the bonsai trees, like how big are these? Like, I mean, bonsai trees are fair. I mean, there are different sized bonsai trees, but generally they're kind of groomed to be of a smaller kind of the replica.
You mean like the one I'm going to build or the
ones
I got?
The ones you're going to build.
The one I'm going to build? The one I'm going to build, I'm doing it's going to be 3 foot tall, 6 foot by 6 foot wide.
Okay.
And we're going to put it on like a 3 foot by 3 foot like stand, like
a pedestal.
Yeah,
almost,
like it'd be like a concrete pedestal.
Yeah.
But I'm designing it in a way so that it's like very obviously a bonsai. So it's kind of going to be based on like like a traditional kind of
like the Karate Kid.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of like a windswept, kind of like semi-cascade kind of thing.
Coming
so
off the cliff.
Yeah, so it'll kind of look like a bonsai look, so it'll be obvious what it's supposed to be. But
with
that
like
way
the
it'll
short
be,
side and the long side.
Yeah, and then that way it'll be very obvious what it is, but at the same time, large enough to where you can see it from the street.
Is this going to be like you can sit under it for shade type of thing, or
it'll be about 7 foot tall, sitting on that pedestal, and they're actually asking me to help them design the area around it, so there's like a nice little place to sit and kind of relax. And I'm going to try and just like go with the whole bonsai theme and just do this whole Zen thing, like a nice place to relax and sit around this tree. And
remember when we talked earlier about my issues with patience?
Yeah.
I've thought about getting a bonsai tree.
No, yeah, it would help.
Thinking about a bonsai tree makes me stressed out. Like, I've watched videos where they're like staring at it, turning it, staring at it, turning it, thinking about it, turning it. Then they pull out their little special like snips, right? And they're like. And then they're like, "That's the day."
Yeah.
Like, and I just like I'm like sweat running down my brow watching this. It's just like, just cut it, man. Just cut the damn thing. Like my bonsai tree would be dead like in a week. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to try. Like,
no, you should. Yeah, because the nice thing about a bonsai tree is like, yeah, sure, it takes patience and you're calming down, but again, like you said, you're making one little clip and that's it for the day. So it's like it takes a tree so long to grow. It's no different when it's stunted like that and it's small. Mm-hmm. So there's bonsais out there that are 1,000 years old. And so it's going to take that thing forever to grow. So yeah, it takes patience, but at the same time, it's a small amount of patience. So it's patience in little doses. It's a good place to start.
I can see you're trying to sell this to me right now.
No, you should. It's very rewarding, especially because like 50 years from now, you know, you're going to be looking at this tree and go like, that's a 50-year-old bonsai. And like, I did that. And I'm going to like pass that on to somebody. I got to like put that in my will to somebody. Someone else is going to take care of this from now on. And you're proud of that. And that means something to you.
And do you need to leave like instructions?
Oh, yeah. Teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Show them.
I have watched all 3 Karate Kids. So,
I mean, that's a start. It's a really good start.
I mean, I watched them more for the kickassery, but
yeah.
the bonsais are important. and these projects,
Yeah.
do you take on more than one at a time?
Sometimes it depends on the project.
Is
what
that
it
hard
is,
to do?
Yeah, it can be sometimes, and you got to make sure that you're not, you know, like screwing yourself up with your deadlines and everything. But
But what about the vision? Like, if you got this vibe going here.
No,
do you have to ride that vibe? Like they said, Picasso would only do one at a time, but he would do like 50 a year.
Yeah, no,
right?
and doing one at a time, I would love to do that. The thing is a lot of times when it's an RFP, it's a request for proposal.
Yeah,
you don't know when they're going to come through the pipeline. One comes through, and you've got an idea and you want to do it. You can't just go, okay, well, let me wait a year and then I'll get back to you. No,
Hold on, man.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to be able to just do one at a time, but doing it this way, you really can't do that. But that's actually one of the things that I'm really excited about with this show. Like I said before, one of the things I love to do is the kinetic stuff, but I don't get to do it enough because it's not the kind of thing that pays the bills. I'm not really making money at it.
Yeah.
With this show coming out, you know, I feel like it's the thing where people are just going to want to see what I'm making. They're going to want to buy what I make. So I can just sit down, make whatever I want to make, however I want to make it, and then just stick it up for sale and probably get someone that'll buy it.
I see like a connection.
I'm hoping to be able to start going the way I really want to go. So instead of making these large public sculptures all the time, I could just start building the things I want to build, you know, and like chasing that, learning more about that as I go, and like figuring out new ways of doing things and just enjoying what I really want to enjoy out of what I do, and being able to make a living at that. That's really the biggest thing I'm getting out of this.
I can see your kinetic work, the art part, being very useful in the film industry.
Oh, yeah.
I really see that. I did a
really
little bit
cool.
of film industry work with my fabrication. It was one of the best times of my life.
I bet.
I had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Like basically, I was a part of a picture vehicle team. We had to build like hundreds of cars for movies.
Dude, nice.
And that was fun. It was a fun experience.
In the life you've lived. Jesus.
It's been kind of crazy, but I don't say no.
Yeah.
Opportunities float by. I'm just like, I'm on it. I
Take
don't know.
it, yeah.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm jumping in. I know I work hard, and I know I care.
Yeah.
So I trust that my skills will get me through it. Right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I could see so much. Even like when I was working in picture vehicles, a lot of it is that kinetic motion, because what they do is they got to move steering wheels to different parts of the vehicle, right? So to get certain shots, they'll have to rip the steering wheel out of the dash because the camera's going there, and you got to put the steering wheel in the trunk, and a guy rides in the back on a little trolley, and he's steering the car from the back so they can get the camera shot.
How cool
and that
is
takes
that?
like you got to run it. Like,
it takes some doing.
It takes some doing. You got to figure out like from here to here to here, and it's got and you can't catch because they're running things like sometimes like 60. Like they never go at full speed for those shots because I mean safety wise, but you still got they can't bind on you in the middle of a turn.
No,
and
you
kill
gotta make
somebody,
that,
right? Like
Wow, wild.
and I could see. So for the film industries out there,
Oh yeah, I would totally do that. That would be great. Yeah. Plus, I mean, hell, you never know. I mean, you know, you jump down one rabbit hole and you never know where it's going to take you. I mean, one of the things I used to love doing as a kid was community plays. You know, I love
drama
acting,
kid.
the stage, all that stuff. Oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah, never in school. Like I was never in like a drama club or anything like that. But like after school, yeah, I went down to Owasso Community Players, and that was just a blast doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, hell, if there was ever anybody out there being like, hey, you know what? Let's stick this guy in this or do something. I'm in.
I always finish every show with the same question, and I'm
Yeah.
sure everyone that listens to my show is always like, Max always does this, but it's part of the show. So I always ask. So let's see. I always try to find the angle for the specific guest. So for you, you're 36 years old,
36,
right?
yeah.
And you're going down now this wild path.
Oh yeah.
And if you went back and you ran into, say, a 14-year-old kid who loves art, struggling in school, doesn't really have an outlet, maybe not the greatest situation at home.
Yeah.
You know, he comes into your shop and he goes, man, give me a piece of advice.
Yeah.
Tell me something that I can walk away with that you're going to be pretty confident is going to make this kid's life better. What would you tell him?
Well, I would say that the most important thing in life is figure out what it is that you want to do with your life. Pretend for a minute that money doesn't matter. You tell that to people, and a lot of times they go, oh, but money does matter. It's like, I know, but pretend it doesn't for a minute. If you could do anything you wanted, money was no object, what would you want to do? As soon as you have the answer to that, start taking baby steps, finding ways to get towards that, to find a way to make a living at that. Because as long as you do what you love, what you want to do, you'll always love life and you'll never feel like you've wasted it. The people that find a way to make a living doing what they love to do, those are the people that are never going to have a midlife crisis. They're never going to be sitting somewhere one day and go, what have I done with my life? I kept the bills paid. Who cares about the bills? I hate my job. I hate my life. Like, just find out whatever it is you want to do. Find a way to do that, to move forward towards what you want. Plus, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about the kinetic stuff is kids. The way they light up seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I've had so many kids tell me they want to be a metal artist when they grow up just from being at Scrap Fest and looking at those sculptures, and that's the best part for me.
You know, and that's so valid.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that is that if you put money aside and just do things for the sake of doing them and doing them right, like make yourself proud. Yeah. Right? They always say, like, make yesterday's version of yourself proud, right?
Sure. Yeah,
absolutely. If you're doing that, trust me, listeners, trust me, the money figures itself out. Yeah. Things line up. You put that good energy out there, you put in that work, and opportunities start to come. They just do. Yeah. Right? And you don't have to worry about it. It's like Field of Dreams. That's Kevin Costner movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And
if
that's
you
just
build it, they will come.
And that's exactly how it works out. Like, I mean, when I first started getting into, like, okay, I want to start a business, I was 25 when I wanted to start my first business. Yeah. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then buddy's like, hey, can you make me these brackets? And I was like, yeah, I'll make you some brackets. Or you can make custom brackets for this thing he was making. I'm now 46, or 46, sorry. That's 21 years later. I'm still known for making custom brackets. Nice. I make custom brackets for restaurant chains, companies across North America. Nice. Because at 25, I was like, I can make a custom bracket. Yeah. Right? Awesome. And I just stuck with it and tried to be ingenuitive about it. Like, brackets that you can hide, brackets that'll hold lots of weight that you don't see. Nice. Just like that little industrial angle, like, can still hold 1,000 pounds, but floating walls, floating stairs, stuff like that. And that shtick, little shtick, has been with me all this time. Yeah, that's awesome. Right? And so, like, I mean, like, I just got an order the other day for like another 100 of them. It's like, well, when I get back to Regina, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be in my shop for the next 2 weeks. You know, like, but awesome. It's those things. You just got to do it. Yeah. You just got to get up and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I've loved having you on the show, man. It's been fantastic. Being on the
show. It's been really good to meet you.
And we'll circle around. Like, I mean, we do bring people back in, see where they are in a year or so, see what's up and see what's changed. And
well, like I said, when that show came out, it felt like the first day of the rest of my life. So you check back in a year, I bet it's going to be a little bit different.
Awesome, man. Yeah. You're going to show up with, like, gold chains on.
Oh, yeah. You know it, man. Yeah. No.
Just be like, what? All right. Well, it's been a lot of fun, Ivan, and you know, for all the listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. This is the last one I think we're doing here at FabTech, so it's a little bit sad. Yeah. I mean, even though we're exhausted, but FabTech's coming to an end. But, you know, thanks for tuning in and keep sharing it and following and you know, supporting the podcast. And until next time, Ivan, you know.
Thanks, Max. I appreciate you, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to the CWB Association Welding Podcast with Max Ceron. If you enjoyed what you heard today, rate our podcast and visit us at cwbassociation.org to learn more. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or suggestions on what you'd like to learn about in the future. Produced by the CWB Group and presented by Max Ceron. This podcast serves to educate and connect the welding community. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.